Thank you very much. We are pleased indeed to come together once again today here at Graue Mill, the Graue Mill community. What a beautiful place this is, nestled in the woods like this, and but it really is a celebration to note the completion of years of work done to finally safeguard the residents here and their property, which over the years have been so terribly impacted by flooding along Salt Creek. We've been at this since 2010. I know that there are folks in the room that have been at this a lot longer than that. We have been seeking effective ways to mitigate the impact of storms on homeowners. I'm just delighted that Congressman Mike Quigley is here with us today that helped secure $2.5 million in federal funding to get this project done. And Patti Bellock, our esteemed former state representative, Honorable Patti Bellock, our friend who represented this district for a long time, she assisted in obtaining state funding of more than $600,000. Look, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of reasons to be disgruntled with government these days, Lord knows, but this is a celebration today of how government works, how we can come together and get something done. Bipartisanship, working together at each level of government, local, state, and the federal government. In 5 years, Graue Mill endured 3 significant flood events. In an instance such as this, we typically work closely with residents to address the issue. What we have found is the Graue Mill Group really is a model of an intelligent, diligent approach toward finding a good solution that involves all the stakeholders and recognizes that input from everyone involved, citizens, lawmakers, and experts, is really crucial. Very impressive, your group of leadership here in your homeowners association. This Graue Mill flood mitigation project has been an important piece of our regional approach to find flood prevention and water management to residents living in this part of DuPage County. So it's not just here, but it's in this region. We are committed to continuing these efforts with the help of our local, state, and federal partners. I have a list of projects that I'm going to ask Mike to help us with next. I want to salute everyone who worked with us. Again, Congressman Mike Quigley, Director, and former Representative Patti Bellock, and Stormwater Committee Chairman Jim Zay. Jim Zay just does a marvelous job. He knows the issues. He's a strong leader. I can't tell you how much I appreciate working with Jim. He knows stormwater like nobody else. Forest Preserve President Joe Cantori. Joe likes trees, he likes nature areas, he's a wonderful man. Hinsdale trustee Neil Burns, and especially the many Graue Mill Homeowners Association members, John Romanelli and liaison John Doniker. So together, we brought together the federal and state funds that supported this project. We're so happy. This is a day to celebrate, and with that, I am honored to introduce my representative, an all-around good guy who gets stuff done, Mike Quigley.
So this is the kumbaya moment you were all waiting for. Thank you, Chairman. For the record, Dan's been a breeze to work with on this and all the other issues. So first thought, this is what you deserve, right? This shouldn't be the exception. This should be the rule. I'm sorry it took as long as it did, but I'm glad it got done. So first, you deserve this. I got elected the first time to represent this area under the new maps in 12, so I was sworn in 13, and I was welcomed to Graue Mill when things were floating. And what an extraordinary set of circumstance that was. So what motivated me? The heartfelt emotions that people who live here had about how much they love living here, what the community meant, and the fact that it was all at risk. Not just that this was going to keep happening forever and a sense of helplessness, but the property you probably couldn't sell under those circumstances. So no one deserves that. So to Chairman Cronin, Chairman Zay, Trustee Burns, President Cantor, Mr. Doniker, and the former Representative Patti, who I'm going to bring out, Patti Bellock, out in a second, this is how it's supposed to work. Bipartisanship and cooperation between the federal, state, and local levels. So I tell people lately I'm doing what I have to do, not what I want to do. there are a lot of extraordinary things taking place in this country that I'm working on because we have to, because they're critical. But what I would rather do is sit down with all of you and the chairman and say my favorite line from the TV show West Wing. What did the president always say at the end of something very bad or something good? He said, "What's next?" Right? So none of this is done. We were able to secure funding for an extraordinary flood project on the northwest side, Albany Park, right here in Graue Mill, and many others. But we have to address these things at the national level and the state level. This is a worldwide phenomenon. I'm going back to D.C. tomorrow, facing the very real prospect that a hurricane is going to impact us there, and the severity and numbers are extraordinary. When I was here in 13, it had been the second storm of the century in 3 years. So these are the challenges we face, but I was very proud to be part of this, and if there's ever anything else we can do, let me know. I'm the only member in Illinois on the Appropriations Committee. I know there's a lot of things on our checklist. Let's take this opportunity to remind ourselves that there's more that unites us than divides us, that government, while often scorned, can be the vehicle that brings us together to do things that we can't do by ourselves, right? This is a great country, and it's even greater when we remind ourselves of those things, because it only matters when policy works at the local level. But that's amalgam of everybody understanding that and caring about other people make days like today possible. So thank you so much for having me and letting me serve you.
I won't be redundant and say what everybody else has said, but I want to say thank you to everybody. I have no prepared remarks because this group is like a family to me. I spent a lot of time here over the last 5 or 7 years, however long it's been. And I got involved first because one of my closest friends called me. She couldn't get over here, and she said, my mother has just been in a rowboat being brought out to the street. Could I go over there and see if I could find her? And so that's how I got started. It wasn't even actually in my district at that time, but that's how we got involved. And I just have to tell you, two of the number 2 heroes that came into my office, and I knew nothing about it, was Larry Klinger, who has now passed, and Peter Schroet, who is here today. And then Dale Gillette and John Donaker, many others, and I don't want to get in trouble for not mentioning everybody, but it's as Representative Quigley said, this was, and I've been in office 26 years, 6 years on the county board, 20 years, I just retired. And in all my years of working in government, number one, I've never seen a group of people who lived in an area who got together and made this happen. Just call after call after call, but not annoying calls. They just stayed on it and on it and on it until very rarely, and you can ask the people from Hinsdale who put their name on the request, do people that live in one condo association get a FEMA grant for $2.3 billion or whatever, and a state grant from the state of Illinois for $626,000. So we want to thank everybody here that made it possible, because without you, and then going to the chairman, Dan Cronin, to Mike Quigley, to everybody, to the Village of Hinsdale, to Tony Charlton from Stormwater from the county. The county has one of the best stormwater groups in the entire United States. They know everybody. You cannot say one thing bad about any group because they'll hear about it from the other. But the classic was Larry Klinger when 2 years through this, we're calling Jim Zay, we're calling everybody about getting on this. And Larry's in the office because he would stop in he and Peter once every 2 weeks almost for all those years and say, what's going on, Patti, where are we? And Larry is leaving, and he said, well, I won't be back for a while, I'm going on a cruise. And this was just at a thing when I think we were trying to get the FEMA grant through Mike, and I said, but we need to get a hold of you. And I'm thinking, well, he'll be back in 7 days because cruises are usually 7 or 10 days. And he said, well, Patti, it's a 30-day cruise, and I won't be gone for 30 days. You can't get a hold of me. And then he goes, goodbye. As he walks out the door. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody. You were fantastic to work with, and this is the best example of all layers of government, going from the United States Congress all the way down to the local municipality, all working together, no matter whether they were a Democrat or Republican, because they wanted to see the people here that live in this association with the best quality of life that they could have, and they partook in the entire process. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and I want to say thank you first to Congressman Quigley. He doesn't come out for the good stuff. We had tours out here. I have a picture of you and I almost falling in the river one time, looking down the bank here. So there's an elected official that comes out and cares about your area. Also, Patti Bellock, how many conversations we had over the years, and they weren't fun phone calls all the time. They were very tense phone calls. My chairman, Dan Cronin, with his leadership, with the rest of the county board, with our partners, our great partners in stormwater in DuPage County, the Forest Preserve, and Joe Cantori. I mean, just a great effort. Also, a Hinsdale trustee, Neil Burns. But most of all, I want to say a special thank you to the Graue Mill residents and their homeowners association. Without your leadership, John Romanelli, your liaison, John Doniker, none of this would have happened. I remember sitting in this room many a times at that table, and when you come into a room with people and they have cookies, that's not a good sign. It means it's not going to be a quick meeting. They're going to keep you there. They're going to tell you what's going on. And I mean, there's no worse feeling when you go into a room when people have had flooding issues and they're losing stuff and they're out of their houses. And it's just really heart-wrenching. And when you come on, that meeting says, we have to do something. And Dale Gillette, I knew I had to do something because Dale, you're going to keep calling me every day. And you had my cell phone, which was even worse, so you kept calling me. Without Dale's help, we wouldn't have got this done. But most of all, as it's been said, without the cooperations, all levels of government, this would not have been done. If we did not get the federal funding, this would not have been done. If we didn't get the state funding, it wouldn't have been done. If we didn't get really large funding from the Homeowners Association, this wouldn't have been done. So it's this great cooperation and accomplishment between all levels. As it's been mentioned, we had flooding, notable flooding in 2008, 2010, 2013, which prompted the homeowners and the Village of Hinsdale to come to the county and recognize that I needed a flood control project here. The village first worked with Christopher Burke Engineering, great engineering firm. They got together to design the project to mitigate both the urban and river flooding throughout the area. At the county, we adopted this project then into our existing Lower Salt Creek watershed plan. At that point, our staff went out and bid to work out and provided day-to-day construction oversight of the project. I have to say thank you, as always Patti had said, to our staff, Tony Charlton, Sarah Hunn, mostly Jamie Locke, who's on maternity leave, who came here today. Without Jamie's out all the time. And Avery Mum from our staff, they did a great job overseeing the project. We also have to to acknowledge our contractors, Earthworks and Copenhagen Construction, for the excellent work they did on this project. As you can see from the exhibits around, the work consists of many smaller flood control projects, ranging from storm sewer improvements to help with local drainage, the construction of flood walls and floodgates to protect from the flooding from the adjacent Salt Creek. We're lucky to have, again, a great working relationship with Graue Mill. Anytime there was a problem or anything was going on, they let us know. Just stayed on the project, and we got to thank them. We also have to thank the Village of Hinsdale, the Forest Preserve District, and our funding partners, FEMA, IEMA, and IDNR for their great relationship. I mean, when you have a project that has this many levels, one bump in the road throws it off, but everybody stayed on point because it was such a great project. Because of this, we have this great project here today. I remember it had to be almost 6-7 years ago where we did the first ceremony, I think with the same podium out here in front, announcing the project, and it's great now to come back and see it done. With that, I'd like to introduce my friend and the president of the Forest Preserve, Joe Cantori.
It's always nice to come in front of a crowd who is happy and excited to see you and not carrying pitchforks and torches. So I'm very excited to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone. During the planning phase of this project, just a quick history, the Forest Preserve District was approached to be part of the solution to address the flooding issues plaguing the residents of Graue Mill. As part of this solution, engineers identified Fullersburg Woods as an area for compensatory storage for floodwaters during heavy rain events. We understood at the Forest Preserve the importance of this project and what it meant for the residents of Graue Mill. The Forest Preserve District was a small part of the entire project, but we knew it was an integral one. Our Forest Preserve District staff, and I'd like to point out your liaison, Brock Lovelace, who's in the back there, collaborated with county stormwater staff on the design and construction of compensatory flood storage at Fullersburg. By utilizing the diverse expertise of both agencies, we were successful in creating a sustainable solution that met the overall objectives of the Graue Mill Flood Control Project. The Forest Preserve District, the commissioners, and of course myself are very proud to have been part of this project, which to us demonstrated the limitless possibilities, as Congressman Quigley said, when federal, state, county, and municipal leaders work together toward a common goal for their residents. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been to several of these meetings. I was not going around a rowboat with Jim, but I did hear and really experience what everyone here was going through. Flooding and fire are not a lot of fun, and it is our honor at the Forest Preserve to be part of this solution and to work with everybody.